Yes, please to drop your introductions in the chat box. We see a lot of you are joining from different parts of the world. We'd love to know, where you're joining from, what you do, whatever, you'd like to introduce yourself about. Hi, um, hi, Aditya. Hi, Dale. Hi, Henry. Hi, Vishwanath from Hyderabad. Hi, Tanmay. Hi, Ragni. Amazing. We have a lot of pings that are coming in. Wow, great. It's really good to have such a lively bunch of audience here. Let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Ananya. I would be hosting the session on behalf of Simplilearn. We have a super informative session planned for you, so please to stay tuned. And before we begin, quickly, a couple of ground rules that we request everyone to follow. Please put your questions in the Q&A box and not in the chat box. We keep getting a lot of pings in the chat box, as you can very well see already. So it would be, we might end up missing yours. So please do drop your questions at any point in the Q&A box. We would be answering them during the session or at the end of the session, and we would try our best to answer all the questions possible. And please use the chat box very effectively. Refrain from sharing any personal details or anything irrelevant to the topic that we are discussing. And for those of you who would like an attendance certificate, please stay till the end of the webinar and give us your name at the poll that we'll be launching during the end of the session. We'll be able to generate a certificate and give it to you within the next 48 hours. And yes, let me take just a couple of minutes to introduce Simplilearn. At Simplilearn, everything we do revolves around one idea, and that is to help professionals, build skills that actually move their careers forward. Today's session is also very much part of that mission. And over the years, we have worked with millions of learners worldwide across different roles, across industries and career stages. We have more than 50 partnerships globally. And but what we're really proud of is, how our programs have stood out in impacting careers. Our learners have, rated us an average of 4.8 on 5, and they've also reported an 80% graduate rate. So that with that aside, it brings us to get right into the topic. So let's kick off with the most pressing question. Is artificial intelligence replacing machine learning? As AI becomes increasingly integrated into our daily work routines, is machine learning slowly becoming obsolete? This is what we're here to discuss today. And over the next 1 hour, we will gain a deeper insight into the current job market for AI and ML, focusing on trending roles and their corresponding salaries. We will identify the essential skills you need to cultivate for a successful career. And if you're uncertain about choosing between AI and ML, we have a framework to help you make an informed decision on your path. And further, to enhance your learning experience, we will introduce you to the Michigan Engineering ProEd's professional certificate in AI ML. And finally, we have a super engaging visual walkthrough of the RAG pipeline, illustrating the functions of Gen AI as well as machine learning. And to lead us through all this, we have someone truly accomplished and amazing, Timothy. Tim is one of those people who sits at like a very rare intersection, real world systems, human centered thinking, and applied AI. But what we personally come to admire about him is that his journey has not always revolved around tech. It has also revolved around high stakes environments, such as healthcare operations, where decisions matter so much, people and processes matter so much. So from leading complex hospital operations to building AI systems that solve practical everyday problems, Tim brings a perspective that's incredibly relevant for anyone thinking about an AI career in 2026. And he doesn't just talk about tools. He's not here just to talk about tools. He talks about how AI fits into real workflows, how AI fits into real businesses and real human requirements, which is, exactly what today's session is all about. So I'm genuinely excited for this conversation, and I know there's a lot that we are going to take away from it. Tim, very glad to have you with us today. It'll be great if you can add on to that introduction and say your hi to all our participants as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. Professionally, I go by Timothy and Tim. So once I'm in a classroom setting with a cohort, I go by Tim. So you can refer to me as anything in the chat or in the QA. But it's nice to meet you guys. I did work in hospital operations in an emergency room setting for about 18 years. So not only did we have to pivot quickly and make our meetings and our decisions count, we actually had to make the changes we were talking about. So a couple of years ago, when I made the switch to leave that world and join the world of machine learning and AI, I brought that skill with me. So I don't only just talk about AI concepts, I talk about how AI actually fits into real workflows. And then with my business, the AI Handyman that I founded, I actually meet with real people. I find out what problem they're trying to solve. And then we work together to find the AI solutions and actually build working pipelines from start to finish so they can take that into their job and make it really work, not just think about it conceptually.
Great, amazing. Thank you for that introduction, Tim. Once again, looking forward to a great session. So let's jump right into the first topic, which is understanding the landscape of AI and ML. Tim, for the benefit of a beginner, could you, please provide a brief explanation of, the differences between AI and ML, and additionally, what are the key functions or job roles in each of these fields that are on the rise in 2026?
Absolutely. So machine learning is kind of where we started a few years ago. Everyone wanted to learn about machine learning. So machine learning is heavy in data science and math. So you don't necessarily have to be a math expert, but it's more about how ChatGPT works, how Gemini works, what are the underlying algorithms, how do we make these tools so useful with this complex logic, algorithms, and math behind the scenes. Whereas generative AI is coming out strong now as far as we have these tools. So, how do we connect these tools to real working environments within our specific domain, healthcare, banking, mortgage lending, creative endeavors? So, now that we have all these complex, amazing generative AI tools, we don't necessarily have to focus on the machine learning, which is more of how those tools were built. Now we can focus on the AI aspect with how do we connect these tools to real working pipelines to solve actual problems? Oh, and then I can talk about
Great.
the AI roles too. Yes, I'm so
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, so there's a lot of names and titles floating around on LinkedIn. So you'll see things like prompt engineer, AI product developer. So it gets kind of confusing. What do all these different things mean? So prompt engineering is more about how you talk to the system. So again, that's a heavy AI skill that people are starting to learn today. We have these complex systems. The people that understood the math behind it already built these systems, but how do we prompt them to make them give us the responses that we want? How do we prompt them to give us the answers or the solutions that we're looking for? Everybody wants to automate tasks as well. So AI automation, you have to understand not only, okay, I can use ChatGPT and I can solve this problem by talking about it, but you also have to know, how do I plug these systems in? How do I use enterprise solutions like Azure or AWS or Google Vertex? Things that actually connect these tools to real enterprise systems. We're all worried about security and safety of our information as well. So a lot of large language operations even goes into, how do we use these tools like ChatGPT and Gemini in a safe way? How do we keep our company's data secure? How do we keep our private information secure? So now the top roles are, okay, you know how to use these tools, but do you know how to integrate these tools into our workflows? Do you know how to build an architecture around Outlook or the Google environment? You have to actually know how to build these systems around working systems that businesses are already using. You can't just be great at making ChatGPT give you an answer to a complex question. You actually have to turn that into a working pipeline, add additional information, make it company specific, make it secure, make it usable, be able to scale it. So a lot of the current roles in 2026 are going to be more about how do we use these tools that already exist in a meaningful way, not necessarily how do we develop these new tools from scratch.
Great. And about ML?
Yeah, so there is still a wide range of machine learning options available for people. So we can't just dump that in the wayside. We still need people that understand the math behind the models. We still need people that understand how to tweak the models. We need people to keep track of how to keep these models accountable, traceable. We can't just use the models like a black box and get a random answer and hope that it's correct. We need people that are heavy in data science and understand linear algebra so that we can keep increasing the accuracy, reduce hallucinations, and keep making these models effective, but also safe and secure. So machine learning still has a lot to do with pre-processing data before we stick it into these systems. We still have to learn more about natural language processing and expanding it into other languages so that it's not just a tool that some people can use. We want to expand the possibilities of these tools. So machine learning is still very important. I think I tend to think that people that love math and data uh, prefer the machine learning roles because we still need those people that understand the raw data, how to work with raw data, how to form tables, vector databases, all of that, all of those processes that go on behind the scenes is still very important. And it takes a very specific kind of person that's detail oriented and understands data and math to keep the systems running and keep us progressing towards a safer, secure AI solution in the future.
Wonderful. And staying true to the topic, let's now draw a comparison between these AI and ML roles with respect to, compensation, salary packages. So Tim, would you, say place AI above ML or vice versa when it comes to earning potential?
So I mean that is a hard question to answer sometimes because it keeps changing. But in general, it depends on what you're already good at. So if you are already doing something that is more AI heavy or more data and math heavy, you might be able to excel quicker by upskilling in that area. But at the same time, a lot of the current jobs are looking for those AI engineers. We have a lot of tools. We have a lot of people selling us tools, whether it's a productivity tool, a summarization tool for meetings. But people don't necessarily know how to get the most out of those or even make them work from a basic standpoint. So a lot of companies right now are looking for and paying more for people that can combine some of those tools together, make them work better, save money by maybe a lot of companies are investing in 15 or 20 different AI products at a time, and they need somebody to come in and look at the whole landscape and say, well, maybe we don't need these 5 tools, or these few tools are doing the same thing as these tools. So it helps to understand the full landscape ecosystem of the AI and machine learning. But a lot of people right now want to pay people to come in and help them understand. So learning that AI piece and really knowing how to connect these tools together to create actual working solutions is what people are looking for a lot right now. But I don't want to discount machine learning because having an understanding of the processes behind the scenes helps you further be able to implement those AI systems in a way that's more meaningful. So people are looking for those AI skills. Come help me, come into my company and help me understand all these tools that are available to me, but it still does very much benefit. And sometimes in spaces like research or data science, labs, healthcare, people are looking for more of that data heavy, the person that understands the math behind the machines. But a lot of people right now just want somebody to come in and say, help me make sense of this landscape, help me organize my tools.
Great. It's very interesting that you mentioned that, because achieving this level of earning potential that we see also requires a lot of technical competencies, right? So what skills will be most essential, as this year unfolds? So it'll be fantastic if you could separate your insights into AI skills and ML skills.
Yeah, absolutely. So the AI skill stack is a large skill stack and it's growing every day. So large language models, I think that's what we like to talk about the most. ChatGPT, Gemini, these models that help people ask questions in natural language and receive answers that feel um, very helpful, very useful. So large language models and those foundational models that help us create these amazing generative images or marketing campaigns or just an email that needs to sound more professional. A lot of people, we know that they exist, ChatGPT, Gemini, but companies need people to come in and understand more about how they actually work in their full range of features. Prompt engineering is a huge one. Companies need employees rather that understand how to talk to ChatGPT. So a lot of people still use it like Google. Hey, I have a singular question. I'm going to get a singular answer. Whereas companies really need someone who knows how to flesh out a full marketing campaign, a full financial safety or fraud detection system. RAG systems are huge. Everyone loves talking about RAG systems, and we'll talk about that later, but that's retrieval augmented generation. So how do we make a tool like Gemini or ChatGPT have more specific information about our business or our domain? So we have to give it additional information so that it can retrieve and augment that large language model response that we've been getting from these tools without that. Agentic systems are another big buzzword. And when I talked about this last year, agentic systems were kind of still sad. They didn't necessarily work very well. We've come a long way with agentic systems. So now you can do anything from buying an airline ticket where you say, hey, I need help on this day. I'm going this place. An agentic system can come in, multiple tasks strung together. It can retrieve information from the web. It can retrieve information from another specific data set, and it can string it all together to give you a precise outcome, not just, hey, ChatGPT, what's the weather like in Miami this time of year? Model behavior and safety, everyone wants to adopt AI, but they want to make sure that their information's safe. So that's something that we learn in these classes as well. How do we keep that data within the ecosystem of that company so that it's not being shared with the world or any party that they don't want to share it with? And then conversational AI and workflow optimization. We teach you how to make sure that you're not just learning, okay, this is a fun little trick that this chat GPT machine can do, but how do we actually automate full workflows that might take up 80 to 100 hours of someone's work time that they can reduce to almost nothing by having these systems? So we teach you not only, and it's important in the AI skill stack to not just know, oh, this is a cool feature, this creates a cool picture, but I can actually talk to someone, find out what their problem is, help them automate it, and save them hundreds of hours of time in a year that they can use to do something else. And then the conversational AI, we got to just keep getting better at that. We've already made huge advances with natural language processing and making the chat GPT sound like we're interacting with a real human. We just need to make sure that real human is giving us responsible and accurate answers, things like that. So I could keep talking about AI forever. So I'll let us go to the next slide here. So then machine learning, again, back to more that data side. So Python and core libraries. Python is the main library that AI and machine learning tools use, but then we have to show that tool to the world. So we also learn a little bit of JavaScript and a little bit of other things that feed into the user interfaces. But we learn about all those Python and core libraries like TensorFlow and the ways that we build those algorithms and models in the background. Statistics and math, I know that calculus and linear algebra can kind of be scary words, but the key here and the key in our programs and the key to learning this stack is not that you have to become the master of calculus or linear algebra, but you have to understand the concepts so that you can understand what you don't know, so that you can either go learn it or that you can use AI tools to help you supplement where your learning may not be as robust as a PhD mathematician candidate. All of the algorithms, neural networks, it's fun to learn all of those things and it can be very overwhelming, but it's really important to know how these machines work in the background. I think when people watch me use ChatGPT, they often say, well, my ChatGPT doesn't act like that. And that's because I've learned how the algorithms work. What's the best thing to say to this? There's a little bit of prompt engineering that goes into it because you can look online and say, hey, what's the best way to ask this question? But the machine learning skill set gives you that advanced knowledge of how it's running in the background, how many tokens I can put into ChatGPT, how many tokens I can get out of ChatGPT. It also helps you get less frustrated with it because you kind of understand the limitations of the models. Model behavior and safety is important in AI and machine learning because we want to make sure data is secure and that hallucinations aren't causing people to make decisions that are wrong or harmful to a certain sector of the population that we might not expect. And then machine learning operations and development and the optimization, we can create these tools. And especially in the Simplilearn labs, we create these tools, but then it's up to the learner and the person using the machine learning skills to continue to develop them in a way that connects to enterprise systems or holds on to information safely. Once we teach you the basic how do you do it, the optimization can be endless. It can be, okay, I want to make the token usage more efficient. So this tool doesn't cost as much to use. I want to make it more useful for this specific use, whether it be fraud detection, mortgage home lending, personal creative usage. So once we build these systems, there can be endless optimization to make it cheaper, faster, and more useful for the greatest amount of people.
Great, amazing. That's like a very comprehensive, list of skills, Tim. So thank you for taking us through that. Before we move on to the next, topic, we have hundreds of participants here. So we would love to, further understand what our, participants would like to know more about. So if you could let us know what kind of sessions you would want us to plan further, we would love to take your feedback, and we will come back to you with like better topics, very interesting sessions in the coming weeks, in the coming months as well. So I'm gonna let that run for just a minute more because we have quite a few people answering. Okay, a lot of you are saying that you would love to know, love to get more real world applications and case studies um, about, yeah, equal amount of people would want career guidance and more clarity about job roles. That's quite interesting, guys. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna end the poll right now, and yes, we will quickly move on to the next section, where we're going to explore the massive AI and ML job market. Tim, as an everyday AI practitioner and a founder of an AI company, you must have been observing some employment or adoption trends in the market, I believe. So, what are the growth opportunities you're seeing for professionals who are starting out in 2026, who are transitioning in 2026?
Absolutely. So I mentioned before that there can be a lot of different titles on LinkedIn, and it's kind of a confusing landscape. But a lot of companies are asking for prompt engineers, for example, first off, or junior level AI architects or AI engineers. And that's often somebody from a company that might not completely understand what they're asking for because they're looking for someone to come in and help them learn. So often prompt engineering is one where a company is asking you to come in and help them understand the landscape. If they're asking for a prompt engineer, oftentimes it's we need someone, we know these tools exist, but we oftentimes need somebody to just come in and help us understand them. Someone that can make this system work. Like we saw in the demo. I hear that a lot. I want this product to work like I saw in the demo. So I see a lot of positions for AI engineers and prompt engineers. And what those positions often mean is we need somebody that understands the whole landscape and can help us understand how to plug our business needs into that landscape. There's also been a lot of jobs as far as humans in the loop for AI and coding review type jobs. Some of them can be a little, some of them are more contract oriented, and sometimes they're often companies looking for an actual employee to join their full-time workforce. But oftentimes that is a person that comes in and helps look for accuracy of the models that they're already using. Reviews, let's say that a company is using an AI model to create code or responses to customer Q&A. They might need somebody to come in and evaluate those systems and say, okay, this is what we want this machine learning algorithm or AI pipeline to produce. So things like prompt engineer, AI engineer, a lot of times people call it a junior AI engineer, and that is often sometimes someone that just understands the landscape. And then you can shine oftentimes by looking into that company and seeing, okay, what kind of problems might this company be trying to solve? And so then you can build a profile project on your GitHub, or you can sometimes submit things directly to companies that say, hey, this is a suggestion for how I would actually solve the problem you appear to be facing. So while there are a lot of jobs out there, it would do you a lot of good as a employee looking for a new job in this space to find out, what does this company do? What do I think they might be trying to use AI for, so that I can actually show them that I have the skills that they need to solve a problem. AI is just so general and everybody wants to use AI. So it really helps to drill down and find out, okay, this is a bank or a financial company or a healthcare company or this kind of company. And then kind of tailor your skill set for that specific interview or that specific application to say, hey, this is how I can help you. Because so many people might not know from an employer standpoint what exactly they're asking for. They need a prompt engineer or an AI engineer to come in and help them make sense of the landscape.
That's a very good piece of advice, Tim. I'm sure that be useful to many. Coming back to this, with AI widening and expanding the market and the opportunities that are there in the market, do you see AI roles sort of overtaking machine learning roles? Like, how has the demand shifted per se? What would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think even just a year ago, people were looking for machine learning engineers because a lot of people were trying to build the next ChatGPT. We weren't sure, or Gemini, or Copilot uses ChatGPT in the background, but just plug in any LLM when I say things like ChatGPT or Chat or Gemini. A lot of companies, even a year ago, thought that they needed to create their own large language model in order to capture their business or their company specific information. And within just the last year, we've advanced to a place where people understand that they don't need to create their own brand new tool. They need to learn how to connect the tools that already exist. For example, just ChatGPT costs millions of dollars to train. So I think over the last year, a lot of companies have realized, like, okay, we might not have the funds to build our own large language model. So I think a lot of the attention has shifted to AI engineers that can help plug in the systems that already work and that already exist, rather than creating from scratch. But I do, at the same time, anytime I say that, I want to just highlight the fact that AI engineers can be better AI engineers if they understand at least the basic concepts of machine learning. Using any tool without knowing how it works can be risky in different ways. It might be fine, but it always helps to have at least a little bit of that machine learning knowledge if you're going to jump into full AI. But overall, I would say people aren't trying to build their own models from a business perspective anymore. They're trying to build on top of what already exists and what already cost so much to develop.
Great. Thank you, Tim. And it was interesting that you mentioned Copilot as well, because we have a question about it. Yeah, like, you've used ChatGPT and Gemini a lot in your answers as examples. So someone had asked where Copilot fit in. So yeah, I hope that is answered. Great. We'll now move on to the next section of the webinar. So for those of you, who still are looking for like a clear idea of which career pathway to choose, AI or ML, we have a quick checklist that Tim will take you through. We think you will find this relatable and useful in arriving at decisions. So, Tim, over to you. Like, what would be who would be more suitable for AI? Who would be more suitable for ML?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with just saying our current AI tools help amplify what you already are good at. So you can learn a new skill much quicker by using some of these tools. But at the end of the day, somebody that's really good with data science creating tables is probably going to be able to learn how to use these tools to create vector databases and more complex tables. Somebody that's in a more creative space is going to probably learn more quickly how to use generative AI tools in order to create new images or videos or audio. So you might thrive in AI rather, as this slide shows, if you love the what if game. So if you are somebody that loves exploring new applications, there are so many AI newsletters and applications that you can subscribe to where you just get hundreds of posts a day, this new tool, this new tool. So if you're someone that loves, hey, this is a new image generation tool or a video generation tool, I want to play around with it, see if it's useful, find a creative way to actually help a business solve a problem. That's tapping into that generative AI category where you're tapping into these systems that already exist and learning how to make them usable. Product first and rapid experimentation. Generative AI is great at this because you can find out a problem and you can throw up a whole demo. You can create a user interface for your demo using AI coding tools. So you can say, hey, I have this great idea. Here's a concept for a demo. Yes, it's going to take some more development down the line, but a lot of what generative AI and what AI in this case means is creating quick concepts, creating quick demos, solving problems quickly. And then if somebody is interested in making it a fully fleshed out enterprise product, then yes, you have to go even deeper into security authorization, things like that. But you can show people, hey, I can help you solve this complex problem that's taking you 60 hours a week. I can help you solve it really quick. So showing people value in AI, teaching people how to use these tools quickly. So even if there's a lot to take away from one of these tools, you can oftentimes say, hey, here's just one simple thing about this tool that can make your day so much easier. And so that value, just giving people the aha moment, like, oh my gosh, this works so well. This is going to save me so much time. So you can learn so much about so many different things, prove different concepts, show different demos with generative AI in such a rapid speed and a rapid pace that it feels like magic to a lot of companies. If you learn how to do it right and do it quickly and keep those communication skills where you're always trying to help people solve a real problem. That's what people want in this space. And then machine learning. So math, science, data. There are people out there that love math and science and data, and you might not even want to be as customer focused or in the middle of a presentation all the time, proving your concept. A lot of people like mathematics and they want to sit there with an algorithm and optimize it until it works perfectly and beautifully. Like I said, linear algebra, when we talk about in our courses vector databases, the similarity search that makes tools like Gemini and ChatGPT so useful comes from linear algebra and calculus. So if you thrive in those math spaces, you would probably thrive in machine learning because it's all built on optimizing mathematical algorithms and solutions. Data structures, we talk all about tables. Vector databases are kind of the next evolution of a data table where there's even better similarity searches, even better matching. And the research that even with prompt engineering, um, we can teach people in our classes, this is the best way to ask this question to get this answer. But behind the scenes, there's extensive research that PhD level mathematicians and data scientists have done that actually prove why these systems work so well. Why does it work if I give the machine learning algorithm three examples or zero examples or a chain of thought prompt or a tree of thought prompt? There are so many smart people that have done all the research so that we can use the tools that they created for us. And machine learning, you'd thrive here if you love learning about that data, if you love research papers to find out the why. Why does this model work so well? I think that's where that lives. And there's no way that you can't do both. It's just highlight what you're already good at, and you'll succeed even a little bit faster, if not much faster.
Great. Thank you, Tim, for the the detailed checklist. And I think, I believe it's the time for the verdict. So as we wrap up the discussion on AI versus ML, what would you advise young professionals to focus on? And on a lighter note, let me ask you also this: given your background, are you tempted to lean more towards AI?
I am tempted to lean more towards AI. So to be perfectly honest, I learned in my program a couple years ago, I learned more about machine learning, and I quickly learned that for my purposes and my ability to understand the content, that I was more interested in how the tools that were already built worked. So I learned a lot about the math. I loved the math, but at the same time, that wasn't necessarily where my job opportunities were going to come from. I realized pretty quickly that I was going to get the most benefit from spending more time with the AI, especially the generative AI side of the world. So the machine learning, it's still, I love to read an article here and there about machine learning and how it works behind the scenes, but I personally focus on the AI side of the world and helping people adopt the tools that exist and make them actually work for their specific problem that they're trying to solve. So yeah, I hate to take a specific side, but I personally, for my work and a lot of the jobs that I see out there, I think that people that understand the AI and understand how to use the tools that are already built and already exist, may find a job, especially if you're starting from zero. If you have a thriving career as a data scientist or PhD in linear algebra, you would have a giant leg up in the machine learning environment. But if you're starting from ground zero, generative AI is probably where you're going to get the biggest bang from your buck if you're learning one of these two skills from scratch. And
Great.
then here on this,
And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yes, yes, sorry, Tim, go on.
No, you're fine. I was just going to talk about the slide here because it shows how that AI and machine learning hybrid is a great, it's at the top of the pyramid. So hybrid AI and machine learning rules are going to probably garner you a little bit more attention in that interview or in that hiring process because you have that breadth of knowledge. So I think even that companies who only need an AI specialist, they still are going to see that machine learning background or at least that small bit of machine learning that you have within your experience or within your resume as a plus because it helps them be reassured that you understand a little bit about why it works and not just that it works. So I think the widest opportunities would come from at least having an understanding of both. Uh, Deep AI skills, you can see as number two on here. A lot of people know how to use ChatGPT. So you have to find a way that you can use these tools in a way that stands out from other people. You can't just use it like Google, where you are typing in a question and getting an answer and saying, voila, I know how to use AI. It has to actually be, I know how to connect this behind the scenes. I know how to access the OpenAI API or the Gemini API. I'm not just going to the website and typing in a question. And that builds from a strong machine learning foundation because you know that's not all that exists. Me logging into my computer, going to ChatGPT's website and asking a question, having some sort of machine learning foundation helps me realize that that's not where it stops. That's hardly even where it begins. So then I could talk about this forever too. So I'll see if you have a specific question for me before I keep going down that
Yes,
path.
actually, on we have a couple of related questions that have
Oh
come
yeah,
in from our audiences. So I'm gonna combine actually a couple of questions and post it to you. So
perfect.
someone has been asking, so in practical terms, where does machine learning end and where does artificial intelligence begin? So how related are these two? And another person has asked somewhat related question. So is it like ML can ML be classified as a subcategory of AI? So when you see like a job post that says AI engineering, does that also include ML engineering? So like a couple of related questions, Tim.
Absolutely. So the first one, where does ML end and where does AI start? It kind of actually both of them are. Related, as you said, AI, artificial intelligence is kind of the entire broad category. So if we think back several years ago, when someone was able to first beat the master chess player or the master Go player of the whole globe, AI was involved, but it was very much rule-based AI. So artificial intelligence can be any way that we make a machine able to think like a human or react like a human or reason like a human. So generative AI is kind of where we sit now, where people want to use these tools. AI as a broad category envelops all of it. So machine learning, let's say we're using a chatbot for a customer service company. We use machine learning in order to make the searches relevant. We use machine learning to embed the user's question so that that question gets turned into a mathematical representation of the question, and then it gets fed into the next piece of the AI pipeline, and then it gives the customer an actual answer. So a lot of these tools have machine learning as the thought process behind how do we process the data, and then the AI, especially the generative AI piece, comes from when we're actually forming the answer to give back to the user, or forming the image or the video or the audio that we're giving back to the image. So a lot of modern AI pipelines include machine learning and then include the spitting out of the information through generative AI. So you as a learner or you as a AI engineer, there's not necessarily a place where it stops and a place where it starts. There are machine learning concepts that run the engine, and then a lot of people just focus on, okay, what are the outputs? I'm going to be really good at handling the outputs and prompting for the outputs. So machine learning kind of lives underneath as the engine for a lot of these processes, and then the generative AI is what the actual output is. What do we spit out for the user that's trying to use this? So the AI world is huge. A lot of people get confused. AI can just be rule based. Um, it can just be if this, then this. But what we've come to today with these large language models is a much more advanced version of that. We're not just saying rule based if then. We're now saying, here's a complex paragraph that I'm going to give you, and I need a complex marketing campaign out of it. So it is a large machine now that can generate all kinds of content. Machine learning is always going to live inside there, and we're always going to need people who understand how the engine works. Just like when we need to take our car to a mechanic, we're always going to need somebody that understands how to make that engine run again if it stops working or if it's not working right. But a lot of people are focusing on what can we do with that engine now that it's so powerful. So I think I get lost and I can ramble sometimes. So reel me in if you need a more specific answer to that question. But AI is just a huge kind of all-encompassing, but specifically when we talk about generative AI, that's when we're really talking about what are the outputs and how do we create better outputs and more specific outputs to solve specific problems.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that was a great answer, Tim. Thank you for that. And with that, um, we come to the last section of the webinar where we will briefly take you through an amazing program from Michigan Engineering Professional Education. We also have the walkthrough as assured. So please do stay tuned. That's coming in quite shortly. So all about this professional certificate in AI and ML. It's a 6-month live online and interactive program where you'll be building conversational chatbots and driving AI automation through hands-on industry relevant projects. You'll also work with over 15 modern AI and ML tools, and it includes popular ones like Python, TensorFlow, and more. And these tools are industry standards and will prepare you to tackle any AI challenge with confidence. And you'll earn certificates for completing IBM courses, and I have access to masterclasses in hackathons led by IBM experts. These experiences are, designed to keep you at the forefront of AI developments. And finally, upon completion, you will receive a program certificate from Michigan Engineering Professional Education, which really speaks volumes about the quality and the prestige of the program. So, Tim, it will be great if you can come in here and shed your insights on the curriculum of this program, and what it covers and what your take is on this.
Absolutely. So we in the courses that I have been the instructor of the cohort, we always do a very similar thing where we start with the basics. One of the most common questions we always get is, do I need to know any coding languages? So the answer is no, not necessarily. So we typically start with Python. We at least teach you the basic Python commands that you need to know in order to understand what we're going to do next. So we do work within labs. There's a Simplilearn lab. People have sometimes used tools like Google Colab and things like that. But it's essentially where you can get comfortable with coding. What does it mean when I type in hello world? How do I get a program to respond back to me? How do I code in anything, whether it's 5 lines of code? Oh, what this produces an answer of some sort. So we start with the very basics. Here is Python as a coding language, and then you can build from there. Then we start with a little bit of applied data science with that Python. So how do we do some basic mathematical calculations? How do we do some very basic data cleaning up? A lot of times we might have a really busy spreadsheet and we just need to make meaningful representations of that data. So we do applied data science with Python. So we teach you the basics that you need to know so that you can grow based on your own needs from the class or the information. And then when we talk about machine learning, we talk about how are these large language models, for example, set up? So there is the encoder, decoder. We talk about the specific architecture. A lot of terms get thrown around quickly, but at the beginning, especially when we talk about Python refreshers and machine learning, we try to make sure that we're all using the same terminology. So we go through a lot of the foundational models of machine learning. This is what an encoder means. This is what a decoder means. This is what a neural network means. And so we show how all of these tools get fit together, but you don't have to necessarily become a master after that session is done. It's so that you understand the tools and the terminology, especially that's going to be used as we start building on top of this. When we talk about deep learning, so deep learning is essentially the way that generative AI and machine learning has become so complex that we can find these deep meanings and these deep patterns in data. So we can take trillions of data points and find very meaningful patterns that we can then use to answer other questions or solve other problems. So that's what you learn with deep learning specialization. So a lot of the beginning courses are about, how do I think about this problem? Not necessarily how do I become a master at linear algebra, but how should I start thinking about this problem? How do I start? What terminology do I even need to focus on? What sort of information should I go ask ChatGPT or Gemini more questions about so that I understand how it fits into my specific workflow? Generative AI literacy goes into that. Again, it's a wide world of AI tools. There are so many tools. So we, again, teach you, okay, these are some of the most common tools, whether it's Zapier for automation, whether it's Azure for um, cloud enterprise solutions. We teach you all about what are the basics here. Not every company uses the same basics, so we can teach you the most that we can about the general landscape so that you understand what's going on, understand the terminology, understand what people are looking for, understand what people mean when they should say machine learning versus generative AI. And then as the learning path continues, you learn how to start putting these tools together. So the Generative AI Essentials by IBM, Foundational Models in Generative AI Platforms by IBM, you start learning how to actually, okay, I know how to add some additional information in a RAG pipeline to make this LLM answer specific questions about my company. But then what do I do next? How would I actually scale this to make it a resource that people could use outside of my Google Colab form? And then the capstone project is the final everything we've learned together. So you have to know how to pre-prepare your data so that you don't just give it a messy data sheet and hope for the best that you get a real answer out of it. You learn about uploading your documents into a vector database so that you can search that document later to feed that information into your LLM to create an even better response from your generative AI model. You learn how to prompt the LLM to give you the best response with your retrieved content. You literally learn each step throughout the way. And then by the end, with your capstone project, you know about embeddings, you know about searching additional context, you know about prompting, you know about databases, you know about actually invoking a large language model, and you know how to produce an answer. And then you also learn how to evaluate those answers so that you can go back and tweak things when you need to change the way the output came out. So you not only learn how to build the pipeline from start to finish with very basic information at the beginning, but then at the end, you learn how to evaluate because people care a lot about AI ethics, accuracy, transparency. So that once you build one of these tools, we also go into how do you evaluate this tool's effectiveness so that you can actually produce this in a demo and make this a viable concept that you could actually put into practice and not just code for fun in an environmental space.
Great. Thank you, Tim. That I think that was like a very detailed understanding, that you gave us about the curriculum. And I think you've already covered a lot of skills that will be part of the program. If you can also briefly touch upon the tools that learners will get to work on and master, I think that'll be great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So several of the skills we've already talked about a little bit, but I can see a few here that we haven't touched on too far. So natural language processing. Natural language processing is a big one because we go from showing you how I think we all know maybe 20 years ago when we had a cell phone and it started being able to predict the next word we were going to use. That seemed cool at the time. Well, now 20 years later, we have large language models that do that times a million. So natural language processing is a very interesting concept because you're learning how to take the meaning from a person's question. So if they misspelled something, if they have a local way of referring to a term that the rest of the world doesn't use, we expand upon and learn about natural language processing because that's what makes tools like Gemini and Grok and Copilot feel so much like we're actually interacting with an assistant of some sort because it's speaking back to us in a way that we understand. So that's what makes these tools actually useful, not just something that's cool for a data scientist, but the rest of the population can benefit, but because this tool can talk to them in a way that they can understand and they can actually do something with the output. Speech recognition, prompt engineering, statistics, all of these different things come into play in different ways, but it's often about how do we make these tools more useful? How do we make them more accurate? Agentic AI, people love learning about agentic AI. And agentic AI is essentially an AI pipeline that pulls tools from other places, whether it be Wikipedia or from a weather resource or from a shopping website or from a flight website. So a lot of the skills and tools you learn are not just about how does AI work under the hood, but why is this so useful for people? Why are these large language models catching on so quickly? And it's because people are making agentic AI models and working on natural language processing and speech recognition, and they're increasing the ways that people can find benefit from AI. So it's not just about how does it work under the hood, but what are you actually how are these AI applications helping people in the real world? So you learn a lot of different skills and tools that are based on how do we capture speech? How do we capture natural language processing? How do we capture um, how do we capture somebody's true meaning and give them an output that is actually going to be something that's useful in their daily life to make their life easier, more productive, things like that.
Great. Thank you, Tim. And I think now it can be over to you. I think we've reached the most interesting segment of the webinar. So Tim will be providing a brief visual overview of the RAG pipeline. He can elaborate the significance of AI and ML in relation to RAG, which is crucial for the topic of the webinar. Please do stay tuned, everyone. After this quick demo, we will be launching the poll for the certificate and interest for enrollment as well. So yes, Tim, over to you. I will stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I won't take too long for this section by any means. And there were a few times during our chat already where I'm like, oh, this will be perfect when I show you what I was going to show you anyway. So let me get my screen showed up here. All right. And are you seeing my screen here? Is my screen sharing over here? Just want to make sure you can see it.
Yes, Tim, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. All right. So when people hear generative AI, and even in this chat already, we've thought of where does machine learning end and where does generative AI come into? So RAG, which we've said once before, but I'll say it again, stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So with RAG, instead of just relying on what a language model already knows, we can retrieve relevant information first and then ask the model to reason over it. So it helps keep responses grounded in real data, which is critical in enterprise and production environments. It's what takes something from a super useful tool like Gemini or ChatGPT and makes them useful for your specific business need or domain of sorts. So what I have up on the screen is LangFlow. It's one of many visual editors where you can actually use LangChain, which is something you learn about in our courses. But it uses LangChain to string together pieces of the AI pipeline to take a simple large language model and add a ton of value to it. So just two core parts here that I'm going to talk about that kind of highlight machine learning and generative AI working together. Um, this is a complex workflow here. Instead of focusing on any one box, I just want you to see the connections for now. But essentially, we have a machine learning side, and the machine learning side is where we have embedding models that convert text into numerical representations of that text so that we can then measure similarity and retrieve the most relevant information. And then on the generative AI side, here you can see my tool is plugged into OpenAI's ChatGPT. Again, plug in any large language model you want. But then we have the generative AI side where we have large language models that take the retrieved context and generate a coherent, human readable response. So what we're learning here with a RAG pipeline and what you learn even more about in the courses, this is just high level. But essentially on the left, we have the documents turning into embeddings, storing in a vector database. That's machine learning doing the similarity and retrieval. And on the right side of the screen, we have the language model that takes the retrieved context and generates a response. So that's the generative AI handling the language and reasoning. So again, important part here isn't any single box, it's how they're connected. And so this is where the distinction between machine learning and generative AI becomes less about choosing one and more about knowing how to combine them, or what is your personal skill set that can help you understand this is what I need to know about machine learning, even though I think I'm going to shine over here in AI. So machine learning gives us the representations, the similarity, the retrieval, and then the generative AI gives us reasoning, synthesis, and that natural language output. So an AI engineer's role is oftentimes how to design how these pieces interact reliably. So if you log in and you ask ChatGPT a question, you're essentially just doing this one box here. This is where I've called my large language model. But before that, I have taken the specific user input. I've turned their input into embeddings. I've stored them in a vector database. I've created a specific prompt. I've possibly loaded additional data here at the bottom, and then I feed all of that information into the large language model to get a response. So this is just a very, again, high scale, far level, 20 miles out. So the question might not be just whether machine learning or generative AI is the most important, but the winning skill set into 2026 is understanding how to combine them into reliable systems. And that's the mindset that this program is designed to build. But I also just want to continue. It's AI is great at highlighting something that you're already good at. So again, there's a very specific machine learning might be great for those data heavy people. Generative AI might be great for those people who want to just hit the ground running and make these systems. But hopefully this kind of gave you a high level of a perspective of how these tools connect together to create a more complex chain that gives really usable output. That's all I have for that one.
Great. Thank you, Tim. I think that was like a very interesting walkthrough. Even for someone like without any technical knowledge or understanding, it was intriguing enough. So I think I'm sure like that's about 10% or like even lesser of what the program and the program's offerings have in store. So let me
Absolutely.
just get back to the deck. Yes. Great. Okay. So we will quickly, also take you through, the program, the rest of the program details that we have here. This curriculum has been approved by Michigan Engineering Pro Ed, and it's like not only advanced but it also emphasizes practical understanding of these concepts. And additionally, it's a beginner friendly program. We see a lot of questions, around whether you need, advanced Python knowledge, or like, you have to be from an IT background, you have to have, certain work experience, etc. You don't need extensive coding knowledge. A basic understanding of programming concepts will be great. And I think like, an intent to learn, an interest, in developing a career in AI and ML would be, very ideal. And very quickly, if you're wondering, what after the program completion, this is where Simplilearn's Job Assist comes in. Firstly, you will be receiving tailored guidance and, you'll get to engage in mock assessments. This is designed to boost your interview performance, so that you have the confidence to excel, when it matters most. And then we will also be offering AI-powered profile optimization, so you can leverage AI tools to enhance your resume and LinkedIn profile. This is to ensure that you get maximum visibility amongst recruiters, and you're opening up to more job opportunities. And definitely, we would also work on improving your core competencies. So our technical assessments are also designed to sharpen your skills, and to elevate your proficiency, so that like you're very well prepared for the challenges that a work landscape will bring in. So with that, let me just take you through the fee details. For Indian learners, the fee is 2,79,999, with installments starting from just 12,536 a month. And for USA learners, the program fee is $4,300 with monthly installments starting at just 430. And for learners from other parts of the world, sorry, we've not added the fee details here the in your currency, but you can check it out in the link that I'm sharing in the chat right now. And for those of you, who are interested to enroll, so please let us know in the poll that we have launched right now. If you are a little unsure, if you have a lot more questions, if you still want a lot of clarity, then please feel free to click on yes. Our experts will get in touch with you, and help you decide the way forward. So you can also scan the QR code here if you want to know more details about the program. Tim, while we wait for people to give their answers, like I think we can look at a couple of questions that have come our way. Um, right. So let me read out something from Abhinaya. AI, ML, and NLP. I think we're comparing three domains here. So, which is best in real life application?
Well, so natural language processing is kind of what makes generative AI feel so human or feel so usable because it's not, let's say we misspell a word in our question, it doesn't say, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. Because of things like natural language processing, it allows the responses that we get from generative AI tools to sound more human, sound more usable. We don't have to know exactly what to put in to get what we're looking for. It helps kind of sift through what we meant or the context of what we're asking so that we get a more relevant answer. So a lot of the times people might dive further into natural language processing if they're very interested in the actual customer side of, let's say, chatbots. So they want to make chatbots even more usable or expand it to a language that's underrepresented in the data of a large language model that they're using. So a lot of people, and in our programs with Simplilearn, you learn about natural language processing, but you don't necessarily focus on it. But there are people that focus on natural language processing, which is making the models respond in a more human way, whether that's improving accuracy or just improving the way that it recognizes the question. Whereas machine learning is very much how does the model work under the hood? And then the generative AI or the AI portion of the process is very much what do I do with the outputs that this complex algorithm is giving me? So they all kind of fit together, but natural language processing is specifically for people that want to make it more human or more usable in that way.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Tim. We have gotten quite a few responses for the polls. I'm gonna end that. And yes, so I think like a lot of you might be interested to know about the attendance certificate. So I will be launching another poll now where you can enter your full name, and we will be able to generate the certificate in the next 48 hours and share it with you on email. And in case you are not able to answer the poll, or for those of you who are watching us live on LinkedIn and YouTube, if you would like an attendance certificate as well, please feel free to write to us at webinars@simplylearn.net, and we'll be able to get you the certificate. um, right. Tim, maybe I think we can take one last question while people give their answers. um, Okay. Here's something that a lot of people might have in their mind: how to actually secure a job in the AI and ML market. Like, what does a beginner need to do? Like, if you sort of have to, like, give a roadmap for someone to secure a job, what would it be?
Absolutely. So I would say that in AI and machine learning, if you haven't already heard of GitHub, Hugging Face is another place where you can go see what other people are building, see what other people are working on. So I would say that just applying for a job, you can put a lot of things on a resume. It doesn't necessarily show your skills. So portfolios are important. I think a lot of people get confused as to what a portfolio means or where to put a portfolio. That's not necessarily the first problem you should think about, but start actually building things that solve a problem. Or and in the Simply Learn things, especially with the capstone, you learn how to take a problem, solve the problem, and show the answer to the problem. So building tools or building actual portfolio projects anywhere is a good place to start, whether it's a Google Colab Python code that shows how you can take a question and answering system and make it hyper specific for a hardware company or a bank, something like that, just to show, hey, I know how to code in Python. Whether you're using ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude in order to create that code, you actually have to be able to show that you know how to put these skills into use. So I think portfolio projects can often be confusing. What do I do with the portfolio project? I would say There are courses you can take on Git and GitHub. That's a great place to start because that teaches you how to showcase what you're learning. So I think what a lot of people are missing is they list a skill set on their resume or something like that, but they don't have anything substantial to show. And I think people worry about like, well, I don't know how to produce a production level program that has a perfect user interface. That's okay. A lot of people don't know how to do that, but just organizing your information. So looking at Hugging Face, you can see data sets and models that people are building. People often build a model that maybe helps you get dressed in the morning by trying on clothes, but actually building some projects that say, hey, I know how to actually take an AI pipeline or an AI tool, tweak it and make it useful for this. So I would personally hope that people would be interested in looking into GitHub and Hugging Face as a way to present their work, because learning how to do that work is great and important and necessary. But then also showing that you know how to turn that concept into an actual piece of code or a project that actually solves the problem is the next step that employers are looking for. They don't want just a list of skills. They actually want to see that you know how to do it. So whether that's a 5-minute demo of a RAG pipeline is a great thing to get the hang of because you can say, hey, I can take Gemini and I can plug in your company specific information and I can have it answer questions about your company. People love that right off the bat because you're showing value that you can provide to that company. So projects and portfolios, I think, are a lot of things that people are missing.
Great. Thank you, Tim. I think that was again a great piece of advice, especially for those who are looking to enter the job market this year. So we with that, I'm gonna end the poll for the certificate as well. Once again, let me repeat that if you have not been able to access the poll, please feel free to write to us at webinars@simplylearn.net. So, right, with that, we come to the end of the session. If anyone has any questions that we've not been able to address, please again, write to us. We'd be happy to continue this discussion as well. And Tim, thank you so much for your guidance and sharing your insights, sharing your knowledge. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you. Do you have any final remarks to share? Any advice for the learners?
Yeah, so I think my final remark would just be to whether you're looking into machine learning or generative AI as your place to start, don't get overwhelmed. There are a lot of AI terms, a lot of AI tools. I think the world of AI is just growing at a pace that's so quick that everyone's just trying to produce AI content and AI tools. So learning about the foundations, but also just understanding that there's a ton of information. So start learning about some of those tools and then learn how those tools work. And then you can get down to the foundations and then you can build back up in a way that's specific to your business or your company or your educational domain. So just don't get overwhelmed. There's a lot of information out there. So you got to just start looking at it, finding what's interesting to you, and then you can go down rabbit holes that are very specific to what you're interested in. So you don't necessarily have to change your whole way of thinking or your whole business domain. You can find out how to plug AI into something you're already good at or something you're already doing so you can enhance your productivity or enhance your creative workflow, not just scrap it all and start from fresh, but learn how AI can plug into what you already do well or what you already know a lot about.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. I think with that wise words, we will wrap up this session. Thank you to all the participants as well for spending the last 1 hour with us. We hope that you'll be able to share the learnings from this session, as well as from our programs to get ahead in your career. Have a great day.